Hi and welcome to the Knit Shift, episode 17. My name is Laura and today is Tuesday, July 14th, 2015. Welcome! If you are new here, this is a knitting podcast where I talk a lot about yarn. If you're coming back, thanks so much for hanging out with me again. I really appreciate it. I'm recording a little early this week because if you've been watching for a while, I mentioned I'd be going out of town this coming weekend. I wasn't sure if I'd have time to record, but it's kind of rainy out, it's really gray. It just feels like a good cozy day to curl up and record a podcast. And I finished a project last night, so I feel like I've got some good stuff to share with you today. Show notes for this episode can be found at thenitshift.com. This episode is available on iTunes, Ravelry, iTunes, YouTube, and on thenitshift.com. I'm on Instagram as lauramichalski, and I'm on Ravelry as yarnstormer. And we also have a Knit Shift group over on Ravelry, so come on by and check it out. We have a baby knit-along going on right now. It runs through August 31st, so gosh, we're more than halfway through now. It's a 3-month knit-along. There are prizes, which I will tell you about now because I don't think they're in the thread now that I think about it. There is a skein of Malabrigo Machita yarn, which is a single-ply fingering weight yarn in a beautiful multicolor blue and green colorway. I have a needle keeper, which will help keep your needles safe and keep your stitches on the needles. And I have a beautiful project bag from Knitty Kitty on Etsy. So I hope you'll participate. Just post a picture of a baby knit in the finished object thread. Baby socks count if you have a couple pairs, all as one entry. So yeah, I think that's it for housekeeping stuff today. Let's see. Today I have a new finished knit to show you and a little bit of yarn, and I have some really neat patterns to share, some of which I'm thinking about knitting. So let's get to it. Last week I showed you a finished baby vest called a Milo Bambino, and I shared a progress photo of a second one I was knitting because my cousin is expecting twin boys in the fall. Well, I finished the second baby vest late this morning, just before I finished recording. Here it is. This is Milo Bambino. It's a paid-for pattern by Georgie Hallam. I think it's $6. There are 5 sizes available, all of them under 1 year. She provides you with 5 different cables you can put on the front of the vest. This one is the honeycomb. Let's see if that'll... Yeah, I think that'll show it okay. I used Malabrigo sock yarn in the colorway Solis, which is a lovely deep forest green. And it's a semi-solid, as you can see. And I used size 2 needles and size 3 needles. I used size 2 for the garter, and then I switched to size 3 for the body, and then I switched back to size 2 for the bottom edging. This was an incredibly fast knit. I highly recommend the pattern. It's all seamless, and it's just a very easy, very fast baby knit. There's no sleeves, there's no collar. It's just once you get beneath the arms, it's straight down and you're done. That's it. So I have both of the vests for the baby boys here. So this is the one I showed you last week, and it's got a lovely little wavy cable running down the front. And then this one has the honeycomb. So I'm really pleased that they match but don't totally match, I love that they are complementary toward each other. So I'm really excited to give these to the recipient. I won't be there when she opens them, but obviously you can see all the ends hanging. I have to weave in the ends, I have to wash them and block them, but I was really eager to share them with you guys. I really like the honeycomb, I have to say. I'm very pleased with how that looks. It was so easy. So 2 more baby knits done. I have one more baby knit for a friend who's expecting a girl in November. I just found out it's a girl. And I have a friend whose daughter will turn 1 in November, and if I have my act together, I would like to knit something for that little girl for her birthday, because she's the daughter of a very dear friend of mine. So we'll see if I have that together. I'd like to get them done by the end of July, or by the end of August for the baby knit-along, so we'll see if I can pull that off. I need to go hunting in my stash to see what I want to knit for both of those little girls. I might even have it in me to knit a third Milo Bambino vest for either of them. We'll see. Babies and vests are just really cute. I also, I think it stems from my love of babies in overalls. I just think babies in overalls, little Oshkosh Bagosh overalls, it's just the cutest thing in the world, you know. So that's where it comes from, I suppose. So that's all I have to show you. I don't have my sock that I'm currently knitting. I've showed it to you in previous episodes, but I just left it in another room, and it's just more progress on the foot. It's not very exciting, but probably in the next day or so I'll be able to turn the heel and carry on up the leg. So maybe I'll have that finished for you by next week. That brings me to yarns. And if you're new here, yarns is just what I call my segment about new yarn. I'm just weird and I call it yarns when it comes in the mail. So if you watched a few episodes ago, I talked about how I was really itching to cast on a pie shawl, a second pie shawl. I've knit one before. It was about 800 yards of fingering weight yarn. So it's on the small side. It's a modest pie shawl, but I want a big honkin' pie shawl, like that's enormous, and I have to like clear out an entire room to block. I would really love a massive pie shawl. So I've been on the lookout, you know. I thought I started one in fingering weight yarn because I had a bunch of different green yarns, and the more I thought about it, the more I realized I would not love a bullseye style pie shawl. Did I say that right? Bullseye style pie shawl. So I stopped knitting immediately because I think it's important to realize what, you know, you have to face the truth of whether you will use this or not. You know, maybe if you're a process knitter, you won't care if you don't wear it, but I love the act of knitting and I love wearing what I make, so I'm a little bit of both. But I just knew deep down that I wouldn't like it. So I frogged it, and I thought, you know, well, I'm going to DC in a few days, so maybe I'll just buy some yarn for a pie shawl there. And then I got browsing on webs, you know, yarn.com, and I decided to surf their lace weight section. And I've never knit a lace weight shawl before. I've started and abandoned, but never finished it. And they had some cones on clearance of Yorkshire wool, and they had all sorts of natural colors. They had, you know, jewel tones as well, but I was really drawn to the natural colors. So I bought myself a cone of Yorkshire wool mill end. It's a lace weight yarn. Let me pull it out so you can see just how thin this is. Oh my god, what am I getting myself into? Let me unwind it a bit, and then I can kind of put my hand up. Do you see how thin that is? Oh my word. So it's a beautiful, it's a 250 gram cone, and I believe it's about 4,500 yards. And this cost me $13 plus shipping. Regularly it'd be $22. Even at $22, that's a very good price. I was really drawn to this lovely heathered gray. I'm not sure if I can get, that color's pretty accurate. It's just a really lovely heathered gray. It's a single ply, which makes me a little nervous about it breaking when I knit it. But I'm going to hope for the best and carry on. But with 4,500 yards, I can absolutely knit a massive pie shawl, and I really don't have to worry about running out of yarn. So I'm very excited. In fact, I got this in the mail yesterday, and I really had to resist the urge to cast it on last night, even though I was really tired. I'm not feeling super well this week, but I was exhausted, and I briefly toyed with the idea of casting on, but I said, no, I have to wait for the podcast. I have to film the pristine cone. I've never knit from a cone. I don't think it would be that different. It's basically a yarn cake on a fancy toilet paper roll, you know. So yeah, and there's a little label on the inside that says lamb's wool ash. So I don't even know what brand this is. It just is called Yorkshire wool. So we'll see. I'm very excited. I think it'll be a beautiful gray shawl. It will go with everything. I have a gray winter coat actually, so gray on gray doesn't bug me. So that's my only stash enhancement. I hope to have some Next week, after my trip to DC this weekend, I'm taking the train on Friday morning, and I have the day to myself in Alexandria, so I plan on having lunch by myself and probably hanging out at Fiberspace. So if you're in the Alexandria area and swing by Fiberspace Friday afternoon, you might see me. I kind of think I will go for a beer in the afternoon, because when you're on vacation, day drinking is totally acceptable. And just hang out and knit and enjoy myself till my friends get there Friday night. And we have dinner plans Friday at a restaurant we're all really excited about. Saturday, I think more of us will be getting together, and we will definitely go to Fiberspace and have brunch and dinner and enjoy ourselves. It's going to be a really hot weekend, so the more time indoors, the better. So I haven't totally thought about projects to take with me. I know I want to take, I have a single sock on the needles that will finish a pair, and I have a pair of 2 at a time socks going. I'll take both of those, and I will take the pie shawl, and because I'm crazy, I will probably take a 4th project, even though I will be there for less than 48 hours. One can never have enough knitting projects, you know. So that brings me to spinning, and I have 0 progress to show you on that because I've been a busy girl and have not been spinning even though it's the Tour de Fleece. Sorry. And that brings me to our final segment about, I have a lot of patterns to share with you this week. Patterns that popped up in my Instagram feed or in Ravelry, and I just thought, oh, this is really nice. I need to tell people about this. So let's cut to that, shall we? The first pattern I want to show you, I have 2 shawls and a cardigan to share with you today. The first shawl is called FHP, and it's by Casapinka, and it's a $6 pattern, and it calls for a single skein of sock yarn. And it's written specifically for variegated yarns, and I'm warning you, don't go blind from the fierceness of who I presume is Casapinka. Don't be blinded by the fierceness of her eyeglasses, because they are amazing. So there it is. I will pull up a close-up photo. It's an asymmetrical shawl. These are pretty big right now. Oops, I hope I didn't just have there. Hope it was lit up properly for you. But aren't those glasses amazing? Oh man, too cool. And here's a close-up of the pattern. It's like a fancy rib, kind of a twisted rib perhaps. I'm not totally sure, but it looks like it would be very easy and very easy to memorize. Whoop, where did you go, window? There you are. And according to the pattern description, FHP is, I will read you from the description. FHP debuted at a trunk show at one of my favorite local yarn stores. The local yarn store was testing it with 2 skeins of koigu and kept saying, "Wow, it looks ribbed. I really like how it's ribbed." And later, "This really has a textured rib appearance. I love that." So when it came time to name it, I couldn't resist. Those of us in the US at least might recall a certain advertisement where something was ribbed FHP for her pleasure. Well then. So, and then it says, "I hope you will knit this for your pleasure, but its recommended usage is only as a shawl." So, very cool asymmetrical shawl. I have a skein of sock yarn. I'm really feeling the shawl bug about to come over me. Like, I just feel like I have the vapors, and it's the shawls, and I really think I might cast this on. You know, I talked about taking socks to DC. I might end up taking like 3 shawls instead. I just don't know. Don't you just love thinking about your projects? Am I the only one that just loves to contemplate and marinate and think about what they want to knit next? If I spent less time thinking about what I want to knit, I would knit even faster. And on to the next shawl. Gracie, please don't bark. Grace, come here. I'm sorry. Gracie, Grace. Hey, pup. If you watched last week's episode, you might recall I had to stop recording while Gracie barked because someone rang the doorbell with a package. I'll continue on. Gracie! Grace! Hey! Hey, little miss, come here. Thank you. Thank you for guarding us. I'm sorry. The next shawl is called Laffitte, and it is by Anthony Casalena. It's a $6.50 pattern, and it calls for a lot of lace weight, 1,600 yards. In fact, I'm enjoying on Ravelry where it says the yardage is 1,599 yards to 1,600 yards. That's the range, a 1 yard difference. Really? Okay then, why not just say 1,600 yards? But this is a beautiful gradient shawl. It's a garter shawl, and it's not so much triangular, it's not so much semicircle, as it is kind of a half of a hexagon, it almost looks like. I think it's gorgeous. I think you could also knit it out of a single color. Look at that. Oh, on the dress form, aren't those colors beautiful? I am such a sucker for gradients. I don't have any fun no-name origin stories on this pattern like the last one. It's knit using 4 colors of Malabrigo lace, 2 strands of yarn held together throughout the entire shawl. So it seems that what you would do is you would slowly drop one type of yarn and add in another and make the gradient appear that way. It's really beautiful. It would be so simple. I like it a lot. And my final pattern for you is a pattern it's a cardigan, and it's called Ishnana, and it's by Ysolda Teague. And I think she just released it this week. It's a 5-pound pattern, which for my American friends is about $8. And it's a fingering weight cardigan, and it comes in sizes from like 35-inch bust all the way to a 59-inch bust. So very, very generous. And, you know, it looks pretty from the front, but I'll show you the front photo first, and then we'll switch to the back. Well, there's the cardigan from the front, and you can see the detail on the sleeve is this beautiful cable. And then the back is what literally made me gasp. I gasp when I look at knitting patterns. Would you look at that gorgeousness? Oh. And the way the cable flows into the ribbing, I just think that is so, so beautiful. I really love that. I don't know if I would actually knit myself a fingering weight cardigan, because let's be real, I'm not a small woman, and a fingering weight sweater would take forever. Forever. But I will admire those who choose to knit it, that's for darn sure. And I think I told you all the details. It's fingering weight, and it ranges from 1,100 yards to 2,280. So quite a bit of fingering weight yarn you might need. But much like the sweaters in the pattern photos, like this green one is a really nubbly tweedy yarn. I think it would look so stunning in like a yarn like Brooklyn tweed. Is it Loft or Shelter is the fingering weight? I think Loft is the fingering weight. And to be honest, I've knit with Brooklyn tweed yarn before. Because of the way it's spun, I'm sorry, there's sirens outside. Because of the way it is spun, it's a woolen spun yarn, so it's very airy and it's very easy for it to break. I am kind of a death grip knitter, so I don't often break yarn, but if a yarn is not plied or it's just really airy, I could break it, which is why I'm a little nervous about that lace weight for my pie shawl, but we'll see. And then finally, I just had a few more things I wanted to tell you about. I wanted to tell you about a podcast of the week. I was watching YouTube Saturday. Josh, my boyfriend, went out of town to go to some baseball games, and I knit and knit and knit, and I watched TV. I watched Orange is the New Black, still not finished with this season, and I watched podcasts, and sometimes you'll get the podcasts will play automatically, and it'll jump you from one episode, and it'll say, why not try this? And it launches you to something you aren't familiar with, but is probably in the same family of topics. And that's how I found this podcast. And it's a male-hosted podcast, which there, I would presume, not many of compared with women-hosted podcasts. His name is Nathan. He lives in London, and he's an actor. And he is really into knitting. He's really into math. He has designed patterns, including a really beautiful black and white scarf that is based on a town in Scotland that is known for its gloves, hand knit gloves, and a certain style of knitting that goes with it, and he turned it into a sock or into a scarf pattern. And it's double knit. He really is into double knitting, which is the type of knitting where you basically make a double-sided garment. I don't know how to do it, but it sounds very intriguing. And yeah. So he's very friendly and warm. I'm recommending it to you because he's a designer and he's interesting, but I'm recommending it mostly because he was very friendly and warm, and he really talked to the camera as if he was talking to a person, and friendly and just very warm, and I just really liked his spirit, not to sound too hokey. So I've only watched one episode, but I definitely can't wait to watch more. So I figured I would share that with you because it's been a little while since I've shared a podcast recommendation. So there you have it. And the final bit of the week is probably my favorite, but I'm biased, and it's the lipstick of the week because I love lipstick. I'm obsessed. Oh, and before I get to that, so I knit those 2 vests out of a single skein of sock yarn. And this is all I had left. Probably 4 or 5 grams at most of this Malabrigo sock yarn. While I was knitting the final rows last night before bed, I got to introduce Josh to the term yarn chicken. I told him I was playing yarn chicken, where you're trying to get to the end before the yarn runs out, and he just thought it was the funniest thing ever. So that is literally all I had left. So these 2 vests took about 200 yards apiece, I would guess. So anyway, digression aside, here is what I'm wearing this week. This is NYX Butter Gloss in the color Tiramisu, and it's a very neutral gloss. It smells delicious. I wish there were a smell-o-vision because it's really just a really lovely neutral pink. And yeah, I will hold the camera up to my face so you can see it a little better. The lighting is not super great today because of the rain. There you have it. It's not too sticky, especially if you put on just a little bit. But I really like it because it's a nice gloss without being too over the top. Like, I wear this. I've been wearing it to work a lot this week. So there you have it. Oh dear. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do that. Maybe I'll cut that up if I can figure out how. Anyway, that brings us to the end of the episode. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week. It feels weird to record this on a Tuesday. I'm so used to recording it on my weekend or right next to my weekend. I still have 3 days of work left this week. Ugh. So I hope you have a fantastic week full of lots of knitting. And have a great weekend, and I will be back with a full report from Washington, D.C. next week. Take care. Bye.